we're tackling how to master English from home. And luckily for us, we found this awesome podcast episode just packed with tips.
Oh yeah, tons of actionable advice.
No commute needed to level up your English skills. Pretty sweet, right?
Famous.
So let's get to it. What are the best ways, and the most fun ways, obviously, to improve English without leaving the house?
Well, the thing that stands out to me is it really emphasizes finding what works for you. Ditch those rigid methods, you got to find a way to learn that actually fits your life.
Totally. It's all about personalization. Okay, let's break it down. The first takeaway is building a solid foundation. Before any fancy techniques, we got to ask, how important is self-assessment?
Oh, it's crucial. Absolutely crucial. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't start without knowing the lay of the land, right?
Right, you need a blueprint.
Exactly. Same with language learning. Honestly, evaluate your skill level. Where are you at?
Like, are we talking dipping your toes in the pool? Or are we diving headfirst off the high dive?
Yeah. Are you a beginner? Are you intermediate? Maybe looking to refine some things. Knowing where you stand helps you set those realistic goals, and then you can choose strategies that'll actually work for you.
Makes sense. Like taking inventory of your linguistic toolbox before you start building, for instance.
Perfect analogy.
And speaking of tools, our source mentions going back to grammar basics. Remember those sentence diagrams from school?
Oh, yeah.
Turns out they might have been useful after all.
It's all about understanding how the language works. And it's not just passively reading the rules. Try to actively use those grammar rules.
Put them into practice.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're working on verb tenses. Try writing a short paragraph and really challenge yourself to use all those tenses correctly.
Ooh, I like that, putting those rules into action. Now, vocab building, that's another essential part of the foundation. Our source suggests making a vocabulary journal. But I always struggle to actually remember new words.
Yeah, that's a common problem.
Any tips to make that process stick?
Well, instead of just writing down words, try something like spaced repetition.
Okay, what's that?
So you write the word, its definition, and an example sentence. And then the key is you revisit those words at different intervals.
Oh, so it's not just cramming them all at once.
Nope. It's about spreading it out. You can use flashcards, or there are some great apps for this too. It's all about consistent review. You got to gradually get those words into your long-term memory.
Spaced repetition, I'm stealing that. Okay, so we've got a solid foundation. But how do we make learning English fun? I mean, nobody wants to be stuck with boring textbooks all day.
Right, it shouldn't feel like a chore.
Our source is all about using the power of media. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good movie night?
Or binge watching a series.
Exactly. So how does this work?
Well, with media immersion, you're learning without realizing it.
Sneaking in a lesson while relaxing. I like it.
You pick up on natural pronunciation, everyday expressions, even cultural nuances, all while being entertained.
That's pretty awesome. But there's so much content out there.
Oh, yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Start with what you enjoy. If you love comedies, dive into some sitcoms.
Okay, I can get behind that.
If you're into news, check out English news channels. And don't be afraid to mix it up. Different genres expose you to different accents and vocab.
Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
And language learning, apparently.
Yeah.
All right, so choose what you love. Got it. But what about subtitles? Are they helpful or a crutch?
Think of them as training wheels,
I like that.
Start with subtitles on, and then as your listening gets better, try weaning yourself off.
Challenge yourself.
Exactly. You could even watch a scene with subtitles, then rewind and watch it again without them.
See how much you caught.
Exactly.
Love that challenge.
Yeah.
Now, our source also talks about audiobooks. Honestly, I never really considered those before.
Oh, they're fantastic.
What makes them so special?
Audiobooks are great for training your ear. You get used to the natural rhythm and intonation of English.
So it's like having a pronunciation coach.
In a way, yeah. Plus, if you choose a book you already enjoy, you'll be way more engaged and motivated.
Double win. Entertainment and language learning. Our source even suggests following along with the physical book while listening.
Oh yeah, that's a great tip.
Why?
Well, you reinforce your reading comprehension that way. You visually connect the written word with what you're hearing.
Like a multi-sensory workout for your brain.
Exactly.
All right, I'm convinced audiobooks are going on the list. But now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Speaking practice. This is where things get tough when you're learning solo.
I know what you mean.
But our source claims even practicing alone can be fun.
It can. You just got to get creative.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How do we do that?
Well, they suggest, and I know this sounds weird, talking to yourself in English.
Talk to myself.
Yeah, I know. It sounds a bit crazy.
Like narrate my breakfast routine. debate myself about pineapple on pizza.
Exactly. Have those imaginary conversations, practice tricky words. Let loose. It's your personal English playground.
Okay, I'll admit it feels a bit strange, but I'm willing to try. What's the reasoning behind this solo speaking practice?
It's about building confidence and fluency, but without the pressure of having an audience.
Makes sense.
Think of it like a mental rehearsal. The more you practice, even if it's just to yourself, the more natural it'll feel when you talk to others.
So I can literally just chat about anything.
Anything.
Describe what I'm cooking, argue with myself about the weather.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about getting comfortable with the language.
All right, I like it. Now, for those who want something a bit more structured, our source mentions this technique called shadowing. I'll be honest, the name makes me think of someone lurking in the shadows and mimicking someone, which sounds a little creepy.
Yeah, I can see that. But it's not that dramatic. It's about listening to audio or video, and then you repeat what you hear. Mimic their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm, everything.
So it's like becoming a vocal doppelganger.
That's a great way to put it.
What kind of material works best for this?
Anything with clear and engaging speech. TED Talks are great. Those speakers usually have fantastic pronunciation. And you get exposed to different accents, too.
What about podcasts?
Podcasts, audiobooks, even scenes from your favorite movies.
So if I enjoy listening to it, I can shadow it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. That opens up a lot of options. Any tips to make shadowing more effective?
Focus on specific things. Maybe one day you focus on nailing those tough vowel sounds. Another day you work on copying the speaker's intonation and pauses.
So it's about actively listening and really fine-tuning your voice.
Exactly.
All right, solo practice is great, but I imagine there's nothing quite like interacting with other English speakers, right?
You're absolutely right. And luckily, connecting with others online is easier than ever.
Yeah, all those online language communities our source mentioned.
They are gold mines for practice and cultural exchange.
I'm curious about these language exchanges. Honestly, I have no idea how those actually work.
It's pretty simple. You find a partner, someone who's a native English speaker, and who wants to learn your native language.
Okay, so there's that exchange element.
Exactly. You each get something out of it. Then you just set aside some time to chat. And you switch between languages so you both get practice.
So it's like a two-way tutoring session.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And you can tailor it to your interests, you know? Talk about hobbies, current events, cultural differences, anything.
It's a chance to practice, connect with someone from a different culture, maybe even make a new friend.
Exactly. It's a great way to learn and connect.
I'm sold. Where do I sign up? How do I find one of these language exchange partners?
There are tons of platforms for that. Apps like HelloTalk and Tandem are really popular. You can also check out language learning forums and Facebook groups.
Great. So many resources. All right. We've got immersive media, creative solo practice, and interactive online communities. It's a lot to take in.
It is, yeah.
How do we stay focused? How do we make sure we're actually making progress?
That's where goal setting and progress tracking come in.
Makes sense. Have a plan. See how far you've come.
It's about having a roadmap for your journey, you know, and celebrating those wins along the way.
Love the idea of celebrating those small victories. But when it comes to goal setting, I tend to get a bit carried away.
You and me both.
Any tips for setting realistic goals? Goals that won't leave me feeling discouraged.
Remember the SMART acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, break it down for me.
So instead of saying, I want to be fluent, which is vague and a bit overwhelming, set a specific goal, like, I want to learn 30 new vocabulary words about travel by the end of the month.
Much more specific. I like it. What about tracking progress? Anything beyond the usual spreadsheet?
Get creative. If you're visual, try a habit tracker. Mark off each day you practice. It's really satisfying.
I like visual stuff. That could work.
Or make a vocab board, pin new words and pictures, anything that helps.
Make it tangible, make it fun.
Exactly. It's about making progress something you can see and enjoy.
I love those ideas. Now, before we move on, I got to ask, our source mentions that mistakes aren't the enemy. They're actually valuable teachers.
100% agree.
What are your thoughts on that?
Mistakes are going to happen. It's inevitable. But they're so important to the learning process.
Why?
They show you where you need to focus your attention. They help you refine your skills. Don't see them as failures. See them as opportunities to learn.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about embracing the messy, imperfect journey of learning a language.
Exactly. Perfection is a myth. It's about being willing to stumble, learn from it, and keep going.
Right. I'm officially giving myself permission to make mistakes.
Good. That's the spirit.
Okay, I think that's a good place to wrap up this part of our deep dive. But don't go anywhere, we'll be back soon. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into why people learn English, and we'll answer the big question. What aspect of English are you most excited to master?
Can't wait to explore that.
See you soon.
All right, see you then. Yeah, it helps you get comfortable speaking, without the pressure of someone listening.
Right, like a safe space to experiment.
Exactly. It's like a dress rehearsal for the real thing.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value in talking to myself, but for those who prefer a bit more structure, a more formal approach, our source mentions this technique called shadowing.
Ah, yes, shadowing.
I gotta be honest, the name makes me think of like someone secretly following someone else and copying everything they do.
You could see that.
Bit creepy, no?
Haha. Well, it's not quite that intense. Basically, you listen to audio or video, could be anything.
Okay.
And then you repeat what you hear as closely as you can. Try to match their pronunciation, intonation, rhythm, everything.
So it's like you become their vocal twin.
Yeah, like you're syncing up with their voice.
What kind of stuff works best for this shadowing thing?
Anything with clear, engaging speech. TED Talks are fantastic,
Yeah, I love TED Talks.
The speakers usually have great pronunciation, plus you get exposed to all sorts of accents.
True. What about podcasts? Can you shadow those?
Podcasts, for sure. Audiobooks, too.
Even like scenes from movies?
Absolutely. If you enjoy listening to it, you can probably shadow it.
Okay, so many possibilities. Are there any, pro tips for making shadowing more effective?
Yeah, good question. I'd say focus on specific elements.
Break it down.
Yeah, so maybe one day you really concentrate on nailing those tough vowel sounds.
Vowel sounds, always tricky.
And then another day you work on mimicking the speaker's intonation, the rise and fall of their voice, or how they use pauses.
So it's about active listening and really fine-tuning those details.
Exactly. It's like you're polishing your pronunciation skills.
Nice. All right. I'm going to give shadowing a try. Yeah. But even with all this amazing solo practice, there's still nothing quite like talking to real people, right?
Oh, absolutely. Real-life conversations are key.
And luckily, with all the online communities out there.
Yeah, connecting with other English speakers is easier than ever.
Our source mentioned those language exchange platforms. But honestly, I'm a bit clueless. How do those actually work?
They're pretty cool, actually. Basically, you find someone who's a native English speaker and who wants to learn your native language.
Ah, so it's a trade-off.
Exactly. You help each other out, then you just set aside some time to chat. And you switch between languages so everyone gets practice.
So it's like a linguistic barter system.
Exactly. And it's not just random chit-chat. You can talk about hobbies, news, cultural differences, anything that interests you both.
So you practice speaking, you learn about another culture, maybe even make a friend along the way.
You got it. It's a win-win situation.
Okay, I'm convinced. Where do I find these language exchange partners?
There are tons of apps specifically for this, like HelloTalk and Tandem. You can also check out online forums and Facebook groups.
Right, so many resources. All right, we've covered so much. We've got immersive media, creative solo practice, interactive online communities.
It's a lot to digest.
It is. So how do we stay on track? How do we make sure we're actually progressing?
That's where good old-fashioned goal setting comes in. And of course, tracking your progress so you can see how far you've come.
Yeah, having a plan and seeing those results.
It's like having a roadmap, Yeah. And it's important to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Oh, definitely. Got to acknowledge those victories. But for me, the problem is setting realistic goals.
Yeah, it's easy to get overambitious.
Any advice for setting goals that, won't make me want to give up?
Remember the SMART acronym?
SMART.
It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, break it down for me.
So instead of saying, I want to be fluent, which is a great goal, but it's pretty vague, right?
Yeah, kind of overwhelming.
Right, so break it down. Say something like, I want to learn 30 new vocabulary words related to travel by the end of the month.
Okay, much more specific. I like it.
Yeah.
What about tracking progress? Any tips beyond the usual spreadsheet?
Get creative, make it visual, make it fun.
All right, I like that.
You could try a habit tracker where you mark off each day you practice, or a visual vocabulary board where you pin up new words and pictures.
Ooh, I love that idea, like a collage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The key is to make your progress something you can actually see.
And something that keeps you motivated. Now, before we wrap up this section, I wanted to touch on something our source mentioned. They said that mistakes aren't the enemy, they're actually valuable teachers.
I couldn't agree more.
It's a different way of looking at things. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Mistakes are inevitable. Everyone makes them, especially when learning a language.
Right, it's part of the process.
Exactly. And they're so valuable because they pinpoint your weaknesses.
They show you where you need to improve.
Exactly. So instead of getting discouraged by mistakes, see them as opportunities.
Opportunities to learn and grow.
You got it.
So it's not about striving for perfection. It's about embracing the messy journey of language learning.
Absolutely. It's about progress, not perfection.
All right, I'm officially giving myself permission to make mistakes.
As you should. It's how we learn.
Okay. I think that's a good place to pause for now. But don't worry, we'll be back for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the deeper reasons behind learning English. And we'll answer the big question: what aspect of English are you most excited to master?
I can't wait for that.
See you soon.
See you then.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into mastering English from home. We've talked about all these awesome strategies, right? From spaced repetition to shadowing to those pineapple on pizza debates with yourself.
Hey, those can get pretty heated.
They can.
Yeah.
But now I want to shift gears a bit and explore the why behind all of this. Why do people put in the effort to learn English?
That's a great question. The motivations are all over the place, as diverse as the learners themselves.
Right, it's not one size fits all.
For some people, it's purely practical, like they want to advance their careers.
Yeah, English is often seen as the key to global opportunities, right?
Exactly. Opens doors to international collaborations, a wider range of jobs.
Speak English, speak to the world.
Exactly.
But it's not always about climbing that corporate ladder.
You're right. For many people, it's much more personal.
Deeper, in a way.
It's about connecting with loved ones who speak English. Like, really connecting, sharing stories, jokes, having those heart-to-heart conversations.
Breaking down those language barriers.
Exactly.
And then there's the whole cultural aspect. Being able to experience new cultures through language.
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. Suddenly you have access to so much more. Literature, films, music, art. It's incredible.
It's like opening up a whole new world.
It really is.
I've always admired those polyglots, the people who seem to effortlessly switch between languages.
Oh, yeah, they make it look easy.
What's their secret? Is it pure talent?
I mean, some people might have a knack for languages, but I think it really comes down to passion, perseverance, and a love of learning.
So it's not magic, it's hard work and dedication.
Exactly. Polyglots, they embrace the challenge, They see language learning as an ongoing journey, not a destination.
That's a great mindset to have. Our source also talks about the importance of celebrating those aha moments, those little victories along the way.
Those are so important for staying motivated.
What are some of those milestones that learners can look forward to?
Oh, so many. Could be that moment when a grammar rule finally clicks, or when you can have a conversation without constantly searching for words, or even watching a movie without subtitles and understanding everything.
Wow, yeah, those are big wins.
It's about recognizing and celebrating those achievements.
No matter how small they might seem.
Exactly.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought, a question to ponder. Now that you've explored all these strategies and motivations, what aspect of English are you most excited to master?
What a great question to reflect on. What about you?
Honestly, for me, it's about finding my voice in English, being able to express my thoughts, my ideas, my stories, clearly and confidently.
That's beautiful.
To connect with others in a meaningful way through the power of language.
I love that, and I have no doubt you'll achieve it. You've got the passion and the drive, that's for sure.
Thanks.
So to everyone listening, remember, learning English is a journey, not a race. Embrace the mistakes, celebrate those victories, and never lose sight of your why.
And have fun along the way.
Exactly.
What a perfect note to end on. We've covered so much in this deep dive. I hope everyone feels inspired and motivated to keep learning.
Me too. It's been a great conversation.
So until next time, keep practicing, keep exploring, keep those English dreams alive.
And we'll be here to guide you along the way.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.